Okay. Hello. Wait, stop. Stop. Hello, YouTube. Welcome to episode 2 of my fanfiction reviews. I am Dark Symphony 777, and Chloe Mew Mew is nowhere to be found because she is camera shy. Oh, and this is my pet dog. Say hello. Not what I wanted. So anyway, the second episode of this is called Journey Through Light and Darkness by Plasma Knight. It's a 4-part story. And before I get started, I want to mention this. I will not be recommending this story due to the fact that the author took the stories off the website. That's why I didn't say no spoilers, or if you go to the description, you're going to find a link to the story. I can't recommend something that you as the watchers and fans of fanfiction cannot read. He took him down due to the fact he wanted to make a novel, and it's going to bear a lot of similarities to the stories, which I understand. I understand where he's coming from. And when I asked him, he said, "Do you think I can read the stories?" He told me under 2 conditions. 1, under no circumstances, I'm allowed to post the story onto the website. Which means, don't ask me for the story. Otherwise, I will let him. Otherwise, if you do post, more than likely, you're going to post it, and I will have to tell him that, oops, I done goofed. And second, as a sort of barometer, I have to review the fanfiction. And I'm like, okay. So, the Journey Through Light and Darkness. It's a Yu-Gi-Oh! Adventure fantasy story starring the Dark Magician Girl on a journey to save the world of duel monsters. And it's an alright story. I wouldn't call it a masterpiece by any way, but I would call it really, really good. Honestly, if I was able to recommend it, I would recommend it. It is a really good story. But there's a lot of small stuff that kind of doesn't... I can't really describe it saying it's bad. It's more just more out of place than bad. So, first off, the plot. So the plot follows the Dark Magician named Mahad. He seems familiar. And the Dark Magician girl, Mana. She seems really familiar. If you don't know what I'm talking about, in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, there were two characters in the Memory World arc. I believe that's what it's called. Named Mahad, who is the bodyguard of the Pharaoh, and Mana, who turns out to be the love interest of the Pharaoh. No, Yugi gets Tia, or Anzu, or however you want, or whatever name you want to be called. You want to call her. I call her Tia. And so they journey to stop a coup caused by Magus. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Who took over the dark magic kingdom and wants to wage a war between a kingdom that uses light magic. So we got that little symmetry going on between dark magic and light magic, and yada. And so they journey across all 4 continents. There's 4 continents. And they rally an army to stop Magus, who turns out it was the founder of the Dark Magician Kingdom, who turned out to be the main villain. And then after that, it turned out to be Goddess, who was the main villain, and Mana's mother. It doesn't really make sense on paper, but how the author writes it and how he delivers the prose and the exposition and all that, honestly, it just works. There's one minor problem. I'll get in a tiny bit. And they meet all these characters, all this group, and all this twists and turns, and all these branching paths that come at the end. It's kind of expected for this kind of story. And any other kind of story, it wouldn't make sense because it kind of seems stupid. But this kind of story, it works. It really, really gels because you don't know what's going on. At the same time, you do know what's going on. And the story plays off all the characters, all the locations, the work done by the author. It really works well, and it really, really does. Sorry. Let me just put this. Sorry. And it really does gel. You really wouldn't want to see this whole dictator being controlled by the founder of the kingdom, that was founded like who knows how long ago, being controlled by a goddess who manipulated everything from behind the scenes, all to plant a tree. It doesn't really make sense, but it just works for this story. So yes, Percy, yes. Sorry, that's my son again. It just works. So I had to give the plot a 9 out of 10. Why a 9 out of 10? This type of story, under no circumstance should you have any plot holes. Unless it's at the end where it's just wrapping everything up and it can splinter off into its own story if the author wants to. What happened was, at the midway point of the first story, Magus summons the Monarchs. And if you played Yu-Gi-Oh! And I played Yu-Gi-Oh! I know the Monarchs. And if you know the Monarchs, you know how dangerous they are. You know how. And he summons the original Monarchs. And he tells them, go after Man on our troop. Go! Kill him! Squash him! Bring it to me if you want to! Just... Dark Magician Go, go easy on her. Yeah, she's lazy. Okay, I'll get more into it. And they go after them, and as the troops filling up, they meet 4 of the 6 original Monarchs. And they kind of become jokes later. I kind of understand why he kind of got rid of that plot, but it's still a plot hole. The author should have at least finished it, because they didn't fight the 2 most well-known Monarchs, Mobius and Caius, before the whole Mega Monarchs and Erebus and Aether crap. This was way before them. And the fact that they didn't go against those 2 kind of bothered me a little bit, because the fact that either you finish the plot point, or you just leave it out. So I had to give it a 9 out of 10. Character development. I have to say it's more hit than miss. There's a lot of really good characters. Magus, for one. Mana's development is phenomenal. The way she grows from a lazy vagabond who just doesn't want to do anything in life, to pretty much becoming the queen of the Dark Magician world, is a really good growth. It's a really good characterization, how she grows, and you see that it's a slow burn. And it's just great. And a lot of other characters are very good. Siegfried, the veteran Buster Blader who wants one last adventure before he thinks he should retire or pass away. And of course, Mahad, the stoic, ultra serious, foil 2 mana's aloofness, and not really taking anything seriously. And a lot of characters, even the original characters that are not dual monsters, because there's a couple characters that are not dual monsters, they work really well in the grand scheme of things. There are a couple characters that are really disappointing, or I didn't feel they lived up to their full potential. There was a character called Zaki who was a silent swordsman who was just there. He was honestly just there. And his sister, Echo, who is a silent magician, get more development than him. She was a full-fledged character, and having her next to her brother is just meh. He has no personality at all outside of like one exposition part, and the fact that he dies, it's just like, I read the part, it's like, alright, let's continue the story. When this happens, I was expecting something more, or something. There was Maven, who was the right-hand man to Magus. It's not so much his character. I liked his character. I liked the whole noble demon that everyone respected. But I felt the author could have done more with him. And the fact that he died kind of anticlimactically. He kind of died in like a piss-poor fight. That was like not even that long. It kind of deserved, his death kind of at least deserved more than what I read. or at least either make his death better, or not kill him then, and have him die near the end of the story, because he died at the 4th arc, and they kind of built him up as this strategic genius. So I kind of expected an equal to another character named Zaylan, and I kind of expected him to be at least live longer. I didn't expect him to live the whole story. I kind of knew who was gonna die, but the way his death felt kind of flat. And then there is Azalea, who, oh gosh, she was really, really boring. All 3 villains, they kind of do a whole trifecta of different types of villainy. There's Magus, who was the noble demon. He wanted revenge, not against the white magician, the Cosmo Kingdom, but rather the queen, because she's kind of started the first war in the first place by villainizing Magus and doing the whole war as a way to assassinate the queen, her daughter, which was admittedly a dick move. So you kind of sympathize with Magus for wanting to at least get revenge. You kind of at least understand why. And he did a lot of good throughout the entire story, and he did make a heel face turn halfway through the 4th arc. So you kind of understand where he's coming from. He's like, okay, you want him to win, but at the same time you don't want him to win. And that kind of character and his characterization is really well done. Malazanoth is the complete monster. He has no remorse for what he's done. He wants to murder everyone. For the sole purpose of wanting to know all magic. And, again, well done. He comes off as completely dark, completely evil, something that you want him to lose. You get sympathy behind the good guys, and you want him to lose. And his battle at the end was phenomenal. It was a tour de force of written action scenes, written prose, of how to build up a final battle perfectly. And then you have Azalea, who, from what I'm guessing, is the tragic monster. Someone who is nihilistic. Someone like a video game example, Count Bleck. He wanted revenge because of sadness. And he was willing, if I can't love, no one can, and everyone needs to die for that. But how she was built up compared to Mizalanoth was incredibly well done. How he was always in the background. You always had those hints, but you never really understood them. It's like, oh, they kept mentioning him. And then when he showed his face, and it's like, blew my mind. But Azalea, Goddess, kind of came off as flat because she... I'm trying to word this right. When you first hear her, you hear this kind of... It does sound of as tragic monster at first, but when you first see her when she first introduces herself, it just comes off as incredibly... What's the word? Hypocritical, I guess would have to be the best word I could think of. Like, her motives in the backstory to her motives in real life, they do scream tragic monster, but there's something off with it. And that becomes apparent later in the story. As the story continues, she just ventures further and further into villain Sue. And her motivations for everything was, I split the whole kingdom into 2 types of magic: dark magic, light magic. There was original chaos magic, but then I split those off, all because of the fact that they villainized her for her sister creating this mana tree, which is very important, that creates all the magic in the world. And so she creates this entire very intricate plot. She planned everything in the beginning, with the exception of mana getting involved. Oh yeah, true fact, she wanted Mana dead. Either dead or captured. That's sad, and she wanted to commit mass genocide to save the Earth itself. So it's like, okay, is like that kind of is that's kind of flimsy. I would have seen it. It would have been better if it was worked in more. Have Magus be the villain of the first of our book 1 and 2. Have Mazalanoff be the villain of book 3 and part 4, and have Azalea be the final villain of the end of Act 4. That's honestly what I would have seen. But the fact that her fight compared to Mazalanov's, which happens literally right after the end of his battle, was incredibly lackluster. The fact that after everything, Mana and all the characters kept forgiving her, she just comes off as very much like a villain too. There was, I still see the possibility of her being a great villain, a great tragic villain, but with the story as it is, I don't see that. I don't see the whole tragic monster nihilistic sort of thing. It screams more, oh, I did all these bad things. Oh, we forgive you. And it really, really comes off as flat. I see the potential for the character, but the way it was done, the way she was done was not good. But there was a lot of hits. I really liked Mazalanov's and Magus' character. I liked Mana, Mahad, Siegfried, Lily, and Aura. Lily was a large ham out of time, who was frozen in time, coughing, sleeping. Orlin was the Cloud Cuckoo Lander. Echo was like this interesting shy character. Evo the Vampire was a very good plot device that kind of boils down into like a troublemaker prankster. And Lance, I personally like Lance the most. Outside of Orlin, because I really liked Orlin, personally. That's just a personal choice. I like all the characters, but I liked Lance because he was that character. He's a paladin of White Dragon, so of course there's going to be a Blue Eyes with him named Kasara. He's one of those characters that, as the group goes on, all the strong characters join, he kind of gets kept to the background. And all the team makes fun of him and said, we have all these powerful warriors. And Lance. Hi! And you kind of build simply. Any character like that, that's at least decently written, you have an automatic symphony point that you want to root for him to have that one big moment at the end. And he gets that big moment. I'll talk about it later. And he gets that one big moment, and you want to root for him to get it, and the character is he's one of the easiest type of characters to write, but he's only capable of being done in certain specific types of stories like this. So I have to give the character development an 8 out of 10. I'm okay with Zaki being flat. I mean, he serves the whole point of, any character can die. So it's like, I can decently die. I can at least tolerate that. And Maven, I can at least tolerate the fact that he died. I wish the fight was at least a little better, or he probably died farther into the last story. But I'm okay with him dying, and his character development is amazing. The only 2 points was Azalea and how flat she was. She was so flat. Next, grammar. This is probably one of the 2 biggest problems I have with the story. What are you doing, Arya? Sorry, that's my... Why are you eating paper? Stop licking me. Stop licking me! Stop licking me! You'll find any way to lick my nose. I lick the nose! Lick the nose! Now shoot! Anyway, back on topic. The grammar. The grammar is horrendous. It's not so much the fact that it's just a mess, like leet speak. Let me turn on the light. There we go. Sorry about that. It's just, there are so many errors. There is so many problems with this, with the wording. It's just there was a lot. I read like I have it on Google Docs, and I literally spell checked and grammar checked the first 10 chapters. I lost count after 20. There were so many, and it just kept going on and on and on and on. And then you get like a patch where it's like, oh, everything's over, and it just goes on and on and on. So I have to deduct a lot of points. Personally, I'm not a grammar Nazi. I thought I mentioned that. It's just, I mean, if I was reviewing actual novels, I wouldn't have the grammar. I have pacing and imagery as two separate sections. But with fanfiction, you don't have a proofreader. You don't have a spell check unless you're really have a keen eye for that. And everyone makes mistakes. Even some of my favorite fanfiction of all time have mistakes. So I have to give this one a 5 out of 10 for all the errors. There are so many errors. I really wish there was less errors. Otherwise, I really wanted to give this a higher score, but I couldn't. Pacing and imagery. The imagery is great. The imagery is amazing. You get that sort of medieval / futuristic feel of everything, and all the types of monsters, from the Dark Magicians to the Fiends to the Six Samurais to the Cyber Dragon. Everything looks and feels like you easily picture every single scene in the story. Pacing would have to be my other big problem with the story. It's not so much the whole story. The pacing is fine. The pacing is slow burn, but speeds up when it requires. But the problem I have with those first 5 chapters 1 to 5 of the first story. It felt rushed. This type of story, you kind of have to grow the characters, establish the characters, give a report for all the characters, and the 3 main characters were Mahad, Mana, and Magus. Yes, there is a running theme, like all the characters being starred M.A. And of course, the Dark Sage Maze. I don't know why he's called Maze. Really could have worked on that better. And the fact when Magus killed Maze, it felt off flat and rushed. Like, oh, we got to get this over with. I really wish there was at least 2 or 3 more chapters to at least let us be able to get to know some of the other characters before setting off on the adventure. And the 5th chapter, the Insect Forest, felt disjointed. I can't really say anything more than that. I do really wish there was at least another pair of chapters or 3 to at least give us a better understanding of how the characters work before tossing them out. But it's not really that bad. And on the grand scheme of things, if you bite the bullet and get past those 5 chapters, everything is smooth sailing in terms of pacing and everything else. So I had to give that a 7 out of 10. And finally, connection to genre and emotional investment. The genres are adventure and fantasy. With dealing with that, this story does have a lot of fantasy with the whole magic element, and you get a complete feeling of adventure. The problem is there's a slight problem with emotional investment, and that's due to the first 5 chapters. Once you get past those first 5 chapters, then you get invested, especially as the group grows. The bigger the group comes, and the more personalities, class, and you see all these different types of characters, then you get more invested, and it slow builds. But those first 5 chapters, they're such a detriment that a lot of people will kind of be turned off towards it. And probably won't continue the story, because there's certain types of stories that kind of have to give you a hook, kind of have to get you invested right away. And while this is not one of those stories that kind of require it, it's just how rushed the first couple chapters felt would be a turnoff for a lot of readers. And I'm honestly lucky that I bit the bullet and read past those to get to the good stuff, to get to everything else that was good about the story. So I have to give it I have to give emotional investment and connection to genre an 8 out of 10. Now, overall, we get a score of 3.7 out of 4. Wait, what's that? Is that 4 or is it 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 1, 2, 3. Oh, wait. Oops. Alright. Sorry, not S+. A+. Sorry, I was planning on doing 4 genres and I realized I didn't add imagery pacing to it. It's final thoughts and favorite part. Favorite part. Remember how I said earlier that Lance is one of those the type of character Lance has that one big moment that you just cheer and go, yeah! That's my favorite moment. At the end of near the end of the 4th book, they fight this angel called Alexstrasza, and she's a Seraph. She's the highest form of angel. She turns into this like really weird form, and then she turns into a dragon somehow. And literally, she's going against an army and curb stomping them. And an entire army, ships, troops, everything. Even a dragon master knight with Kisara turning into an ultimate dragon, with Blackluster soldier on top of her, giving her, and they're not doing nothing to her. And so they're wondering this, and out comes Lance, being carried by Lily, the demon, out of touch demon. Say, Lance, what do you think you should do? Said, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stab her in the eye. And jumps off her face and stabs her right in the eye. And that gives an opening for Kisara to actually land a blow to kill her. And as soon as I read that part, it's like, yeah! There's that moment. Yes! Validation! I just love that moment because that just built up, and I really liked that moment. There were so many moments in these stories, because it's a 4-part story, that I really wanted to add as a favorite moment. The fight between Mizalnoff and Mana and all the friends. The incredibly funny moment between Ria's Amazon's paladin, Orlin, the legendary fisherman, and Lance, basically imitating Leroy Jenkins with Leroy Jenkins being replaced by legendary fisherman, and Lily's character as a whole. The fight between Mana and Magus, Siegfried's sacrifice. There was a lot of moments, but this moment stood out as like that. I just fist pumped, and Miss Mew actually looked at me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm fist pumping a guy stabbing a dragon in the eye." Yeah! I really like that story. Again, I can't recommend it. And finally, because the story is not on the site anymore, and I only have access to it through Google Docs. Final thoughts. Honestly, I honestly wish this story was put back on the website. That's honestly what I'm hoping this video will accomplish, to show Plasma Knight that this story should be put back on the website. It's too much fun. And there's minor problems. I can deal with the pacing. I can deal with the some of the bad characters, except for Azalea. I really do think she should have been done better. And the grammar error should be fixed. But outside of that, I really hope this video accomplishes, not only is this that he realized this story is good, but hopes that he might put the story back, but as a stable barometer for his novel to succeed, and how he can improve and how he can grow as a writer himself. So Next story. I'm going to be adding spoilers for next story. Next story is going to be probably one of my favorite stories all time. I will leave a hint. It's a novelization. It's going to be joy. And I am DarkSymphony777, and I hope you like this review. So please subscribe, like, and comment, and leave what you think of the video and how I can improve. So, cut. Have fun. Alright.